Hey, how you doing, buddy?
All right, how are you?
Very well, thank you very much for asking.
So what's up with the scarf? Is it cold?
It's very cold. I'm wearing it because it looks cool, but also I'm hiding a logo that's on the shirt I'm wearing. So,
What's the logo?
see if you yeah, I'll show you the graphic. You might be able to remember it.
Oh, why?
Because I'm in the middle of doing laundry and I've got no shirts. And I've just found this one in the drawer, and I was like, well, let's put a shirt on,
Oh,
and I'll just cover it with a scarf.
I
Plus,
would
it's
have rather seen you with no shirt on.
yeah, but this is also a beautiful scarf.
Okay, well that's good. That's nice, but you're covering it. Okay, so let's not start with that, Howard. So let's see some of the people in the room. We got David in the room today. Hi, David.
How's it going, David?
Thank you for stopping by. And this is Raymond. I don't know why Raymond's name's not showing, unless he's on a place where he hasn't accepted the StreamYard there. So that's why. And of course, we see this. I was actually going to put this up when the Global Ghost Hunt video is going on. Yes, Matt, we know, and he's saying hi to David. So let's not start with that. Howard, where is it? I lost it. There
Yeah,
it
don't
is.
put it up on the screen.
There you go. What's up, nipples?
Yeah, YouTube, I wasn't showing my nipple before you get upset, for God's sake.
Oh, the Paragroup podcast. Love it, Lex. Awesome.
How you doing, Nando? Hello,
Nando. Ken. And not take away from our guest today, but this is our guest for everybody. This is our guest for next week.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Ken. Thank you for coming in the room. So David, live, you're good. So anyway, so how's it going, Lex? What's up? What's new? What are you doing?
Not a lot this week, but I do have some news, and I don't know how I fit. It's not important news for me. I don't know if you've seen what's happened to a certain paranormal-based channel who got their content removed by YouTube earlier a couple of weeks ago. I've just seen them talking about it today. The South Cac channel got taken down.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to miss because my entire timeline over the last week was filled with them moaning about it. They're claiming it was another false copyright strike, but we'll see what happens with that. But I was just following on with that and seeing if they actually deserve to get it taken down or not. I mean, for me, I don't really care, but yeah, it's just something that happened today. I don't know if YouTube's flagging things unnecessarily or anything like that. But I mean, if it's a third strike, something tells me they might have got it right. I don't know.
So did they do something in their video that went against copyright issues? Like, was it a intro or something? What did they do? Do you know what they did?
Absolutely no idea. So far, from what I gather on their tweets, they're both, I can't remember both their names, but they're both claiming innocence completely, saying that nothing in their content has ever been copyrighted, and it's the third time they've been false flagged.
Oh, wow.
I don't believe that, if I'm honest. I think if you get done 3 times for copyright, you're doing something wrong.
I wonder what they did, because that's pretty severe.
It is. And
how many followers did they have? Because I know they complained for months that they should have 1,000, but they were at like 700 or something like that.
They had a fair few, I imagine, but I mean, because they've got almost 4,000 followers on Twitter alone on individual accounts.
Oh, wow.
But I can't see how much the follower account is anymore because, like I said, the channel's been pulled. But
so are they allowed to start a new one?
They don't seem to. Dustin seems to have said that he's done. He's not going to try and do it again because it's a lot of issues. Apparently, like with YouTube, just not doing their jobs properly. Again, you don't get free copyright strikes for nothing. So I'm assuming there must be some work in there.
I agree with that.
Brian, nipples lavity. Nice. But yeah, so I don't know.
Howard. Thank you.
I think one of the two of them is appealing with YouTube again. I say appealing; they're attacking YouTube on Twitter with millions and millions.
Well, that's not going to help.
It's not. I was like, well,
So
it is.
do you now think Twitter is going to be a little more expressive now that Elon Musk has taken over Twitter and is
Man,
simply destroying it?
I have been enjoying the ride so far. I'm loving the fact that everyone's getting so upset about it, and it's like, I mean, the verification thing, the paying $8 for it, I think is a bit weird. I think, if you
Yeah.
verify your identity, you should be verified. I don't think it should be an earned title on Twitter. I
Yeah.
don't understand it. Like, no matter how big your account is, if you prove it's you, you should be blue ticked anyway, just so you know who you're talking to. I think the only thing I don't like what he's done is the $8 thing, because especially coming up to the elections, it's going to take away the right. You don't know who you're talking to now, so fake journalists can come out and say stuff about candidates, and so I can see there's a risk there. But the rest of it, I'm enjoying. I love the fact that people who you weren't allowed to tell to shut the fuck up before, you now can, because you won't get suspended for it. So
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know.
he seems to be clearing house on Twitter, that's for sure. The
Yeah, too
executive
right.
staff and hey, I don't have a problem with it, but I think what's going to end up happening, and I think they might want to be careful, is there's going to be a lot of there there's going to be a lot of fighting over Twitter, like even more now than there was before.
I mean, it depends
Because
on what it is.
it's going to be an open platform where you can basically say anything. And now, is that dangerous?
No, you can say any. No, he's not taking away. Like, you can't just say anything.
Yeah.
Like, but the idea of having open debate on Twitter, you can't have one side that doesn't get penalized. So with certain social topics, let's say SJW topics, so trans right movements, that gets spoken about a lot. The abortion stuff gets spoken about a lot. It's always one side of the argument that gets banned, and it's the one that's not left leaning. So when you have both sides allowed to give their viewpoints without being banned, it's a good thing. There's still obviously community rules you have to follow on Twitter. You can't go out there and say a load of stupid stuff, and you can't be discriminatory because that's against the rules. But you can give an opinion, which I think is the right thing to do.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Do you think more people are going to be coming back because of that now?
Well, yeah, I think everyone who's been kicked off the platform will probably come back, because I don't believe in deplatforming people for it. So that's fine. I think the other thing is seeing people that are upset about it, who are like, I'm quitting Twitter now, never coming back. And I'm like, yeah, you are. You're not going to be able to resist. You can't keep this shut long enough. So you're definitely going to come back and say something.
For myself personally, obviously I do have a Twitter account under my name and under Huntophobia and Global and Parapost. But really, honestly, the only thing I really do on Twitter now is if I'm going to make a post, I post and ghost. I don't even really stick around anymore. Like, I might do a few retweets here and there. Like, when you put up a tweet, I'll retweet it. When close friends put up a tweet, I'll retweet it. Like Coventry Circle Paranormal, AJ usually puts up a tweet, I'll retweet that. But I don't get into strolling for 20 minutes to find out what's going on. I just don't do that anymore.
Oh, I do, because I love
I don't do that anymore. I basically ghost and post, and that's all I do.
I like weighing in on people. So when I see a discussion taking place,
it's funny.
Read it and I'll give my 2 cents.
It's funny, when I first started Huntophobia, I was on there all the time. Like, I was on there daily for like half an hour to an hour, and now I think I'm on there for a total of 3 minutes. And within the last year, I've been doing that. But I find it interesting. Or find it curious to see if Twitter will shoot back up, because I think Twitter in some ways have really been hurt with the restrictions they've been doing for the last year or two. And
the issue
so we'll see what happens.
The issue he's got now is investors, because they've seen an 8% decline in revenue since Elon took over. But I was like, yeah, but that's just people that don't agree with you. That are doing it. So you're fine. It'll be fine. It's just going to be fun for a few weeks, I reckon.
Well, we have a great guest today. I've been looking forward to bringing this guy on for a while. I think a lot of people in the paranormal community knows who he is, especially people through Parapost and all those Matt's show and stuff like that. He's a really, really super nice guy. He does have a podcast on Parapost Network Central. I'm sure people have seen it. It's great. It's a great podcast. And on top of that, recently he started a new magazine, an online magazine that's really good, that I've paid attention to. And for people that don't know, that are in the room, Global Ghost Hunt and Parapost Network are featured in the November issue. So definitely go check that out. I left the links below in the description. So if you want to go check that out and go follow this guy. So I'm looking forward to talking to him, learning about him. And what was the reasons for him to start the magazine? That's what I'm curious about. And because there's a few of them out there, but so far, what's this?
Oh, just before you bring him on, I've just seen a comment here as well from Ghost God Scotland. Some bad news, Lex and Bryan. Mike passed away on Halloween.
Mike?
Ghost God Scotland. I'm assuming that's Chris.
Mike, sorry, I know a bunch of Mikes.
Yeah, Chris. If that's you, Chris, or Ghost Scotland, can you just let us know who that is, please, so we can give our thoughts out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lex could be Harry Potter, Bryan could be Dumbledore. Oh my days! It's a scarf, dude. Or I'm just wearing a scarf.
Oh dear. Yeah, that's funny. I like that actually. Mike. Oh no, really?
No way.
Oh my God, that's horrible. Wow. That is such a shame. That's my condolences go out to his family. I know he was on Chris's and Dakota's show quite a bit. Very, very nice guy. Very, very nice guy. I'm so sorry to hear that. And again, my condolences go out to his family. That's such a shame.
Oh, man.
Oh dear. Okay, so let's start the show. Let's bring Aaron up, and everybody, without further ado, here is Aaron Hoffman. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Yeah, that is that's terrible. That's terrible news. Did you know Mike, Aaron? Have you ever seen him before?
The name rings a bell, but I'm just having a little trouble placing the face.
Yeah, usually he had a shaved head and he had a huge goatee beard.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think the last time I saw him, I was on a show with him, with Chris and Dakota. That had to be 3 months ago. Might have been 3 months ago. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's terrible.
Yeah, I didn't know him personally, but I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah, I didn't know him personally either, but I was on a couple of podcasts that he was on, and seemed like a really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
Always seemed to be laughing. Always seemed to be a really easy person to talk to.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for coming on today's show. I really appreciate that. I've been looking forward to it. When I asked you, I go, I'm looking forward to talking to this guy because this guy's doing a lot. You got a lot going on, my friend. And
well, I'm glad to be here because when Lisa first introduced me to you, back in the winter.
Yeah.
A lot has happened since then. I've watched Parapost grow. I've been working on a project myself. I see a lot of other people in the Parapost community just, trying to make them big changes and move forward. So
yeah,
it's nice to see that.
We were talking before the show, before we came on live here, and some of the stuff that goes on in this field, and like I told you, the reason I created Parapost Network and Parapost Network Central was to help people, because there's a lot of wonderful podcasts out there. There's a lot of great investigations going on that people are just not seeing. And that's
Right.
why I created those the app and the page, so people can get seen. And what I like the most is, and there's quite a few people that have grown since coming to Parapost Network Central, and that's what the goal was, and because like I said, like I've told people in the past and previous shows, I was going through Facebook one day, and I was just scrolling and seeing all these wonderful podcasts, and they were having like 2 or 3 people in the room, and and they got a great podcast. So that's where I really came up with the idea, and I reached out to some of these people, and they said, "Yeah, we'll be happy to add another stream," because it's just about everybody growing. And I've seen this on so many shows. We're all after the same thing, as paranormal researchers, we're all after the same thing, but I don't know what's going on lately. Maybe it's in the last 6 months or 7 months. It's just gotten worse, and
Yeah.
people are just after everyone. I don't know if it's because of boredom, or they're not doing well, or they're not getting the views that they think they deserve.
Well,
it just seems to be getting worse and worse.
yeah, I agree. And, I think part of that may have something to do that Matt Barron and I had talked about on one of my earlier shows
Yeah.
about building a brand. We talked about how to design your logos, how to establish the brand, coming up with a theme, how to maintain consistency. Because a lot of the people that are not getting the viewership that they want are missing out on some key issues that really set the tone for their audience.
Yeah.
Because most people, I don't mean this in a bad way, but people have a short attention span when they're watching YouTube or on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Everything's got to be fast, and if you don't capture their attention within the first 30 seconds, they're not going to stick around. So that was one of the things that Matt and I had talked about as far as helping people, build that brand, get them somewhere to where, when they show up on YouTube or a search engine, oh wow, that looked cool. I got to check that out. So
yeah,
I think that's
well,
important.
you know what? At the end of the day, we're all trying to accomplish the same thing, and we're trying to get our shows out there, and hopefully people will enjoy them, and that's what we're all trying to do, right? And at the end of the day, some people like it, some people don't. That's just the way it is. So moving on here. So why don't we start off with the typical question that we normally ask everybody? What is your origin story? How did you get into the paranormal?
Well, I've been in the paranormal for a long time, ever since I was a kid. Growing up, all the guys in my neighborhood were playing football, baseball, whatever. I was riding my dirt bike, my BMX bike, all the way up to the library, reading books on paranormal, unexplained, historical mysteries, and things like that. But it wouldn't be until I was in my teen years that I started getting more into it. And for a while, I got into Wicca, Druidism. I got a little bit into demonology. And things got dark. And finally, I had to make some life changes. And then I met my wife. And this is the event that really changed everything. And I got back into the paranormal. We lived in a house, and it was a friend of mine's house, and him and his kids had taken off for the weekend. And it was just my wife and I, and we were in the basement. And she had told me that she had heard knocks, and every once in a while she would see somebody standing at the top of the stairs. And I said, well, the knocks I can explain. Because, you being in Canada and you're in Scotland, cold weather can make old metal pipe noisy as hell. When you start messing around, you turn on hot water, then you turn it off, all of a sudden you'll hear the pipe banging inside the walls. And this was in the middle of January. So as we're talking about that, I hear a loud thud come from upstairs and footsteps running down the hall directly above me. And I looked at my wife, I was like, what was that? Ran upstairs, I looked in every room, looked in every closet, under all the bed. The front door was locked, and nobody went out the sliding door because to my right were the stairs that went up, and you can see the sliding door at the top of the stair. I didn't see anybody go there. And I'm pretty sure you do this in Canada, but we put plastic film over our windows during the wintertime to keep the cold draft from coming in and to keep the house warm. None of that film was disturbed. So I have no idea who or what was running in that house that night. And then I met Thomas Rakowski about a year after that. And Thomas Rakowski and Neil Mile and myself, we started Night Watch, and that's been 4 years, and we just been hitting the paranormal hard ever since.
Cool. Lex?
Cool. I also, so on the same theme, what was it that made you want to do more than just investigations? What's the drive behind pulling together a magazine and stuff like that?
Well, it started with talking with Lisa about doing a podcast. So we set up the podcast where I met Bryan, and we got on the Parapost. And then my wife and I were at a magazine, a bookstore called Barnes and Noble. And I was looking for, any kind of paranormal literature that would talk about, current events in the paranormal field, new studies, new location, new equipment. Couldn't find any of that. And we're leaving the store, and I'm mad as hell. And I complained to my wife, and I was like, why can't I find any of it? And she looked at me and said, well, you have a graphic degree, you have a degree in graphic communication. Why don't you start your own magazine? And at that time, I was like, instead of being like, wow, that's a great idea, I was like, why didn't I think of that? Why don't I make my own magazine? I have the freaking programs. I have a degree. I'm an artist. I know how to do this. So yeah, I've been beating myself up ever since. But yeah, so A View Beyond is really that credit I have to give to my wife. Had she not said anything about it, it wouldn't be around.
Wow. Well, it's definitely a very good idea. I was having a look at your website earlier today, and it is looking really good up on there.
Yeah, well, there are going to be some new changes coming up here in next week. 2 new pages. And one page is going to be dedicated to, it's going to be a listing of known paranormal locations that people can go to. So if anybody out there is listening, or if you guys know anybody that has a location that's open to the public, they can, get a hold of me, and I can put their directory on that website, because I actually want to build a comprehensive directory of every place that people can go to. Because that's another problem that a lot of people have. There's all these amazing locations out there that so few people know about. And the other page, I actually want to do a podcast listing. Because most of the paranormal podcasts I come across, I happen to come across by accident. There's really no listing anywhere that tells you all the paranormal podcasts that are available out there. You almost have to be very specific in your search. So I want to make a list that makes it easy for people to just look at the list and click on the link to go to their Facebook page, where they can find out, where to view the podcast, whether it be Facebook, Parapost, Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever.
Oh, wow.
That'll be coming up in a week.
Well, that's great. And that's one of the reasons why I started Parapost Network, the app, so people can all come together and share their evidence wherever it might be, like whether it's in paranormal, whether it's in, UFOs, cryptids, anything.
Absolutely.
And, and people have been doing that. People have been sharing their stuff, their videos and all those things. And it's really nice to see that we can all come together as a community and really start supporting each other and sharing our different evidence, because we're all after the same thing, right? We're all after to capture, evidence, so we can prove to people that are doubting, that are skeptics, that paranormal is real, right? So just getting back to the paranormal side, you were, before we came on live, you were talking about some investigations. So can you tell us about a latest investigation or something coming up?
Yeah, well, my team and I, we have a location that we've been going to a lot lately, and it's called Carlos Avery Wildlife Management Area, and it's roughly 20,000 square acres of wildlife preserve. Beautiful place. It's got swamp, savannas, grassland, forest, and if I see a lot of hunters out there during the hunting season, then I see a lot of photographers, myself being one of them. But when I started getting into the paranormal and I looked into the history of Carlos Avery, I was blown away by what happened there and how I've never seen anyone else in the paranormal community in the U.S., especially in Minnesota, go to this place. In 1912, there was a double murder that happened out there before it became a wildlife preserve. Okay. Then in 1954, there was a shootout between the Okathic brothers. They were known smugglers and gangsters. They had a shootout with the state police. 2 of the 3 brothers were killed right there on the ground. In 1980, this is the one I have a little hard time dealing with. This is one of the 2 I have a hard time dealing with. In 1980, a 6-year-old boy was kidnapped, and he was brought out to this Carlos Avery, and he was beat to death with a tire iron.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. We haven't found the actual location, and I'm hoping I don't. Even though if he is still out there, I want to give him closure and help him cross over. But that's just something that's a hard one to swallow. The next one in 1989, a woman who was in her early 20s, Barbara Frova, she was in a domestic, abusively bad relationship with her husband. He beat her and then brought her out to Carlos Avery and burned her alive. And then just a couple years ago in 2020, there was a guy by the name of Mort Seaway. His body was found on the road, and we know where that body is. And with all that happening, we get all kinds of evidence, audio, visual. And for those that are in the paranormal field who are familiar with Halloween or Samhain, the idea that that's the thinning of the veil and activity tends to increase. I am actually a very firm believer in that now, because for 2 weeks up until that point, the activity was slowly increasing, becoming more intelligent. And in some cases, and I actually have this video that I'm going to be posting here in a little bit, of the EM energy being so powerful that the K2 was all the way up to the red, and it was completely surrounding the truck. It was the weirdest thing we've ever seen. Never happened anywhere else, except for the one spot in this park. And there's no power system around. No power line, no transformers, no cell towers, nothing. And then for the last couple of days, we've been going out there after Samhain, and we're noticing a very marked decrease in the activity. Mm-hmm. So it's, it peaked out on October 31st and November 1st, and now in that, if you think of the beach, it's in that withdrawal, that ebb of the tide. Everything is decreasing. It's almost completely stopped.
Interesting. Very interesting. Lex?
Yeah, that's definitely very interesting. Do you have any thoughts on what it is or why there's a thinning of the veil to start with?
Well, a lot of people look at it from a spiritual standpoint. I tend to, in the attempt to try to make it as scientific as possible, I look at it from a very scientific point of view. October 31st and November 1st is that midpoint in between the seasons of summer and winter. The middle of fall, right there. And there are certain events that happen astronomically that could potentially explain why there is a metaphysical thinning at some point. There's also the possibility that there may be something happening within the Earth, because the Earth is a extremely active and dynamic electromagnetic system. So it might be a cyclical thing that happened at that point that allows the spirit or the paranormal activity to be more prevalent.
Wow.
I know it's pretty nerdy, but
it's
no.
It's I mean, looking at it like a science experiment is the right way to go about it. I think I've always said that every time we go out and investigate, it's a hypothesis, and we have to test properly, and you have to eliminate everything before you can find some kind of an answer. So I've always been interested in the thinning of the veil stuff, because for me, I always find it's for me, it's going to be astrological, something to do with the positioning of the sun and the earth at a particular point in time, and some of that. So it's a good thing to hear someone else have a sort of similar wavelength there. So that's quite good. Bryan, after you.
Yeah, just going on to your podcast. I enjoy watching your podcast. So why don't you talk a little bit about how that podcast started and where you're planning to take that in the future?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, Lisa approached me with the idea for a podcast, and I was on board with it. So, I came up with the name, the branding, the logo, and we wanted to keep it very all paranormal, and that's been my main focus. And I'm hoping to, I look at it like, and it applies to the magazine, the podcast, and my paranormal investigation team. If money comes my way, cool. If it doesn't, the response is the same, cool. Because whether it's team, magazine, or podcast, I want the content to be about the evidence, not about me.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if you take too much away from the evidence, or if the evidence doesn't have a primary role in whatever it is you do in the paranormal field, you're just wasting time, and you're wasting your audience time.
Yeah, I agree for sure. So what's the plan down the road for your podcast? Just sticking with what you're doing, or you plan to maybe expand the horizons of the show and do bringing other guests on from different fields other than just paranormal?
Well, I do have a guest coming on. We're talking about getting the date set up. She has a paranormal location, but it's also a very uniquely historical location. And I want to have her on the show and try to get people interested in helping preserve it. You don't have to be a believer in the paranormal, but you should at least have some sense of respect for preserving history. Because once these old places go, we have nothing left to remind us of where we come from, how far we've come, how far we have to go. And not just paranormal, but socially, economically, it all ties in together. And her name is Renee Medeiros, and she owned Oksana Victorian. It was built in 1800. Beautiful place.
Whereabouts is that?
This is in Oxford, Alabama.
Okay.
And she bought the place, and she's been trying to get save it, keep it preserved, and have I think with the Airbnb right now, so she does have some money coming in.
That's
but
good.
If you've been around old historic locations, they are not cheap to keep up.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I started Global Ghost Hunt too. It wasn't just about the teams; it was about the locations, because there's a lot of locations out there that are being torn down for various different reasons. And the Global Ghost Hunt, I wanted to help those locations, to preserve those locations, and get them noticed, because we're hoping as a group with the Global Ghost Hunt that we'll have some people that are going to be joining up that are going to be investigating a place that we've never heard of.
Right.
That could be a fantastic place. Or on top of that, we could have a haunted location reach out to us and sign up their haunted location for this event. And hopefully we can get them a team, or they can find a team. But that's one of the main reasons why I did Global Ghost Hunt, was the saving these locations. And because I've seen, there's some that have been torn down in Canada, and I know it's happening all over the world, and hopefully we will be able to save some locations and from being torn down. Lex?
I have a question for both of you, really. Do you guys not have organizations in your countries that work specifically to do this? Because in the UK, we have the British Heart Foundation, and I think that's what it's called. And they do preserve these sites, and they're really, really cool about it as well. I think Bryan, I think we went to one of them with Portal to the Paranormal that are part of this foundation that's been saved. I'm pretty sure one of the places is there. So I was wondering if you guys have that in your countries as well.
We do.
Yeah.
But then there are some places that are not considered historical, and because they're not, they end up getting torn down.
And I think a lot of times they create that criteria that a little absurd. They need to have some major historical event have to happen at these places. When and I'm sure, Bryan, you know of a couple of places like this. There may not have been any major event that happened there, but just the amount of work that went into these places, the artistry that they use, how they created that piece of the work with little to no technology, at least nothing like we have today. All that was done by hand.
Yeah, for sure. There's I think of one place. It was it was a hotel or an inn. One of the, I can't recall which one. I think it was an inn. And a lot of people were going there for paranormal investigations, but people stopped going, and they couldn't afford to keep it open. So they sold it, and it got torn down, and I believe there's condos there now. But stuff like that. Unfortunately, you're right, Aaron, that when you're trying to apply for a certain location to be historical, or be in the historical society, whatever you want to call it, the qualifications to get in there is very tough. And it could, and also on top of that, it could take years before you qualify. At least here in Canada. That's, I don't know about the States or the UK, but it could take up. It could take up. It could take up to 2 to 3 to 4 or 5 years.
And by then the locations have rotted out.
Yeah, exactly. But then on the flip side of that, there's been places here that are considered historical, but they're in an absolute mess. Nothing is being done with them. And that's the downside of that too, because the historical society won't fund in getting it taken care of or fixed up or whatever it may be. There's definitely pros and cons for sure. But hopefully with the Global Ghost Hunt and people start signing up, and we've had some teams sign up and stuff like that, and we've had some haunted locations sign up, and hopefully we can help those people out. And on top of that, with the investigators, helping them get out there as well, because that's important too. Haunted locations are important, yes, but the investigators are important as well. And some of the teams that have signed up are looking to get their name out there, and that's hopefully we're going to be able to do for them. So Lex?
So I do want to jump back into the paranormal stuff. So is there a certain piece of equipment that you think is the best thing to use? Have you got a particular favorite?
Well,
other than the camera and yourself, you can't say those two.
Right. No, I kind of a tough one.
Everybody has their favorite, right?
Well, see, I don't have a favorite, only because each piece serves a specific purpose.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to compare. You can't compare a night vision camera to an SB11. They don't do the same thing. But I guess the piece that I enjoy using a lot would have to be either my SLS or the SB11.
Yeah,
It's a toss up. So
yeah. It's I know people have the SB11, and it's a lot different from the SB7,
which
and
I have, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, the SB11 I find interesting because sometimes it's very, very tough. Sometimes it's very difficult to pick something up through the SB11. I find the SB7 is a little better. It's got a little bit of better pickup than the SB11. But what I like about the SB11 is, and I know the SB7 has it now, is the temperature and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they have only one little light on the top of the SB, or at least the new SB7.
Yeah.
But the SB11, it has the temperature. I think that's pretty cool. I'd like to see that maybe on the SB7. I think that would be pretty cool.
There's actually a way you can help get better results with the SB11, and it's basically a deconstructed version of the portal. My friend Neil figured out a way to make it happen. You just get like a really tiny, small practice amp, portable practice amp for your guitar, and you also get a noise gate pedal. Now the noise gate will completely shut out the white noise. So all you get are voices and words.
Yeah.
And it is so much cheaper than buying a portal itself.
Yeah, I agree totally. So going just back to your podcast for a minute here, since doing your podcast, and by the way, great show, great
Thank
podcast. I enjoy it. What has been your biggest surprise so far since starting your podcast?
Well, I guess I could say I haven't had any major surprises yet, only because I've seen weirder things out there on my investigation. If anything, I would have to say that I appreciate once you get connected with your audience in the paranormal community, I appreciate how people will share your podcast out. If they really like it, they'll talk about your podcast.
Yeah.
And you'll start to see an increase in your viewers and your followers. So I appreciate that a lot from all of my listeners and viewers.
So it's tough though, eh?
Yeah.
Some people think it's easy to start a podcast, and there's a lot to it. And I think the biggest thing to it is getting your guest.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to get set up with StreamYard or Restream. Yeah. That's the easy part, but finding a way to make your show appealing enough and interesting enough so that your viewers check you out and stick around for the whole thing, that's where the work really comes in.
Yeah, that's the toughest part, isn't it, Lex?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Lex doesn't find any guests.
You're the network guy. You know everybody.
I think in the year and a half, or the year, how long have we been going now? A year. It'll be 2 years in February.
It will be, yeah.
And I think Lex, out of that 2 years, I think Lex has found one, maybe 2 guests.
Yeah. But this isn't the only thing I do. I am at work like all day, every day.
Yeah, I know. I'm only busting your chops, but no, it's been great. And I want to turn this, since you asked me a question, Lex, earlier, I'm going to turn this on you because I asked Aaron, what has been your biggest surprise? Sorry, Aaron. What? I'm gonna turn that question on Lex too.
Oh,
what's been his biggest surprise since starting the show?
I don't know. Actually, it's quite a good one. I mean, for me personally, it was getting the chart with the first time I met Patty. I think that was really surprising for me. I never thought. Bear in mind, I've done this for such a short amount. It was second year, I never thought I'd be on the same screen talking to someone who's been doing it as long as she has, with the prolific profile that she has in this field. So that was quite a surprise for me. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. It's good.
What was your
Anyways.
first impression of her?
Oh, I loved her. It's weird because obviously you'll know by the segment we do at the end that I've known about her for a very long time.
Right.
Unfortunately, because she was friends with people that I talk about quite a lot, and thankfully she saw the light and came to the good side of the paranormal. And so I knew about her anyway. And then when I knew she was going to be on the show, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to approach this show because I don't want to offend her. And because of what I say, like you've probably seen me on the show before. I'm not very filtered. You know, when I think of something, I'll say it. And I was like, I just want to approach this in the nicest way. So I spoke to her before the show, like in the green room, and she was lovely about the whole lot. She was like, "Oh, you can say this," I can do. And it was cool. So I was more nervous than anything, but absolutely loved her. After that, spending an hour and a half talking to her on here was great.
Yeah, it was. I met her for the very first time. I was in New Jersey at White Hill Mansion. Get Haunted invited me out there to be a guest during their event, which was a lot of fun. So the night before the investigation, I was on, I think it was Matt's show. Might have been Matt's show. I think it was Matt's show. I came on because he asked me if I wanted to come up, and I said sure. And that's where I met Patty. And we started talking. And as you know, I went out to Tennessee about a month and a half ago, and got the honor to investigate with her and Adam and Raymond and Adam's wife and Patty, obviously. And it was, she was, you know, we've been talking a lot, and obviously she's a supervisor with the Global Ghost Hunt. And I was, you know, I was kind of nervous asking her if she wanted to be involved. And I thought it would be a great opportunity for her because she was trying to get away from that past. And so I was hoping we could help her in that way. And I think it has, to be honest. She's gone completely away from those people. And she's been a fantastic friend since, and I love her to death. And she's just a really, really good person, you know, and her daughter's great as well. And her family, I've met some of her grandkids while we've talked online. I've met some of her grandkids, and she's just a really, really good person. So Lex, you want to go with the next question?
Yeah. So which one do I want to do next? There we are. So in your time of investigations, what's been your favorite place to do? Is there a particular reason why?
Well, I mentioned one of them being Carlos Avery, and that's because, you know, it's a dual purpose for me. I can do paranormal investigations and I can do my wildlife photography out there. There's one place that I can't investigate it anymore. But there was a series of caves along the Mississippi River in St. Paul, Minnesota, and they were known as the Wabasha Caves. And for years, you know, this is the place I used to hang out at. We go inside the cave. There's all kinds of climbing, sliding. It was just a really unique place. And then I came across one cave that actually made me stay away for quite a while, and it was called the Cave of the Altar. And what it was, is first you walk into this cave, then you had to do a belly crawl through kind of a narrow space, and it would open up into a huge cavern. And there was a group of people that took the time to hand carve out an altar on the back wall and had 5 candle holders that would form an upside down pentagram. And my friend Ronnie went in there before me, and all I heard was nope. And I see him trying to shuffle backward. And we were all like, what's up? What's wrong? There's something dark and sticky on that altar, and there are candles lit. We're out of here. And I went there last year. So up until that point, it had been 30 years before I went back.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow. 30 years. So you've been, so just getting into the, we were talking about your origin story earlier. You've been into the paranormal a very, very long time. How long have you been into the paranormal?
Let's see, I'm 48 now. Started when about 40 years. So I was about 8 years old when I started riding my bike up to the library and checking out obscure books like that.
Wow. Yeah, I'm actually there's actually a place that I'd love to investigate. That's actually a library. It's about an hour and a half away from here, and I'm hoping to get in there. I've never investigated a library before. I think that would be pretty cool. Now, I've investigated places where there's been libraries in the house, but not an actual library. So,
if it's the library, do you think the ghost will stay quiet because the librarian's always telling people to shut up?
Interesting question. Interesting question. Not sure about that, but yeah, that's yeah. Listen, anything's possible. I think anything's possible today, to be honest.
Right.
I think we've all seen a lot over our time being in the paranormal, for sure, and how much things have changed, even with equipment. And I was watching what's that show on Netflix called 28 Days Haunted?
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
I've heard of it, but I haven't started it yet.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out what that thing he was using. It was a wind-up thing. I'm assuming it was sending out electrodes throughout the house, and that's what it was doing. Did they even say what that was?
They probably did. I don't think I watched it that in depthly, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I've seen Ghost Adventures use something like that once.
Yeah, it was like had this big wheel on it, and they were spinning it, and I think it was creating electrodes in the room. But watch it when you get a chance. Watch it. It's interesting. I have my opinions about it. But it was definitely
the first one is that it's on Netflix for a start, so that's questionable.
Yeah. It was the demonologist that was on there. He was a little
I've heard
bit
people talk about him.
Yeah, he was a little bit on the crazy side, in a good way, of course, and nothing bad. And he was a little out there, to be honest, on some of the stuff he was saying. And
no Ed Warren.
What's that?
He's no Ed Warren.
No, definitely not. But it was interesting. And I know is it their grandson, or is it I think he's heading up the show. What's his last name? Spira. I can't remember his name. He was the one who's kind of heading up the show and the 28 days. I don't know how much I believe in that 28 day thing. I think if you're going to stay in a place for 28 days, you're bound to catch something. But I would have liked to seen them. I know they did places that are not very well known, like the one place that was in North Carolina. Obviously, I don't know the place. People in North Carolina might know what it's about. Maybe people in the States do, but I found that place. They made it seem a lot more intense than I think it really was.
Right.
And I don't know. I would say this. It was good for entertainment value. If you want to be entertained. For spirit value, I think it was a little embellished. Now, one thing I did like, and I don't know if it's true or not, is there a certain part where I forget what place this was, but they're all in a room and they started hearing something that was going on outside the room. They started hearing noises. They went outside the room, and I guess there's some kind of kitchen there, and all the kitchen door cabinets were open.
Okay.
So what they did was the people that are in the main center that are watching these people do this for the 28 days, they actually rewind the footage, and you actually see all the cabinet doors open. That was cool if it was true.
Right.
Yeah.
That was cool if it was true. I don't know. I don't know how you would, because the actual room is open. It's very open, and then there's a counter there, but you can actually see part of the floor. So I don't know how they would have done that. Opening it with whatever wires or whatever. I don't think they did. I think most of the people were on there that were pretty legitimate paranormal investigators.
Yeah, I do know. I worked with the carnival for 20 years, and I've met magicians who explain some of the trick. And one of the gimmick that they use was called invisible thread technology.
Yeah.
But even though you can only get so much weight on them before they snap, so the idea of people using wire, there's got to be some really strong wire and amazingly thin to not be visible, but still strong enough to have some, to be able to handle weight, like pulling open cupboard doors or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. Lex might have an opinion about that because he's seen wires before in people's paranormal investigations, right, Lex?
All the time. Ben and Laney, Omar, the whole lot.
Yeah. Well, so, you ready, Lex? Matt, get ready if you're still in the room. This is Lex's famous question. I know everybody looks forward to this question. And you ready?
I'm not going to have to get my wife's permission to answer this, am I?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Just ask her to stand by just in case.
Right. So there's another tricky. You're getting me tricky guest to do this question with, Brian.
Well, get ready for next week's.
I know. I'm gonna have to prepare it all week. I have no idea. But I'll just keep it probably pretty simple this time round. I mean, you're 40 years in, right? You've been doing this for such a long time. So imagine there's a world where I and me and Brian finally are really fucking famous. I mean, like super famous. We have talk shows every week on TV. We're super bloody famous that we actually own our own Nobel Award, so to speak, for the paranormal field. And we look at you and we're like, you are this far in, one of the longest people I've spoken to in this field. Your magazine is outselling everything in the world. You're doing incredibly well. So we're just going to gift you all of our collective money, which we've earned over the years, which, by the way, is going to be shitloads because we're shitload famous, right? So we give you all that money and we say, we need you to go and investigate one location in the world and report on it in your magazine. Where would you go with all that money to investigate?
Now, before you answer that, Aaron, I heard your phone. Was that your phone that rang? Was that your lawyer calling saying not to answer that question?
Double checking. Nope.
Just making sure that wasn't your lawyer saying, you know what? Be careful. If you don't want to answer it, you're not comfortable, don't answer it. No, there you go.
Let's see. Well, I mean, I've got a few locations that I would like to do, and they're pretty, they're pretty much on the same level, but a unique answer for a unique question, I would have to say I would like to investigate the Antarctic on a paranormal level.
That's his lawyer again, saying you can't bloody tell him that.
But yeah, I would like to investigate the Antarctic only because there is so much controversy about what has happened there. And there is a lot of unique history. I mean, if any of you know about, Shackleton and the Endurance, not everybody survived there. There is the whole conspiracy of Nazi camp having been built down there. There's a story of a lost SS expedition that disappeared down there. I mean, there's just a lot of weird things that happen down there. So if I could get the right gear, and hopefully my paranormal gear doesn't go to crap on me from the sub-zero temperatures, I would like to go down there.
Cool.
Nice.
That's
a
a
really good
first.
answer. That's a first.
That
one
is a
we've got.
first. I like
and
it.
And you know what? Congratulations for saying somewhere outside of the States.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, anywhere in the States I can go to easily enough on my own. But yeah.
You'll be surprised every time we do this question and we have Americans on. The amount of, I think it's like 80% of them stay in the country with all the money in the world. They're all like, "Oh yeah, I want to go 2 states over and investigate this prison." I'm like, "Come on." So no, Antarctica, the Arctic's a really good, really cool answer.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. Well, Aaron, I really appreciate you being on today's show. So, would you like to stay? Would you like to stay for this segment? This is our new segment. Yeah. Okay.
For a little bit.
Okay. So, everybody, here's our new segment. If you haven't been in the show before, we started this about a month ago. So here we go. I love that.
So do I. It's just so intense.
I love it.
It's unnecessarily intense.
So if you want to chime in on this, Aaron, you can. Or if you just want to just sit back and listen, that's fine too. Go ahead, Lex.
Okay, so technically we'll talk about 2 different things today. So the first one will be a person. The second one will be about 2 different channels that promote it. So we'll talk about the one person first. I don't know if you've seen the new paranormal phenomenon on these really big YouTubers channels where they seem to get stalked in every fucking video. Have you seen any of this going around there?
I know of a couple of people that do that.
Yeah, Jasko's a big one. He's done it, but he's not who I'm talking about today because Jody Dean has jumped on it again. I mean, it's not the first time he's apparently been stalked, but I can't imagine anyone likes him that much to do it, to be honest. But I touched on it a while ago. If anybody has got stalkers in their YouTube videos, they're not being stalked. They've just got, Dave from next door and to follow him around every now and then. But the reason why Jody's one makes me laugh, and I've been watching a few of his videos, like annoyingly, to see what he's doing. There was one where he's with someone and they get in the car and to go to a graveyard or some shit, and the stalker's there with a picture of Jasko or something like that.
Right.
And he sprays him in the face. Now he tells us, as the audience, that he's gonna stun him. He's got pepper spray in this gun, and he's gonna go and do it. Now, bearing in mind, he says it's self-defense. If it was pepper spray, which it wasn't, it's a water pistol because you can Google the actual gun he uses. So it's a water pistol, by the way. But he commits a felony if it's real, because the guy isn't going anywhere near him. He's just a dude that happens to be in the same spot. And Jody goes towards him and sprays him in the face. And he's like, "Oh, it's self-defense." No, if you had pepper spray in there and you walked up on someone, you've assaulted them, no?
Yeah.
And put it on YouTube for everyone to see. I mean, I don't think Jody Dean's the smartest man on the planet anyway, but come on. If you're going to claim self-defense, pay your actor to do something to you first.
Well, how did that guy react?
He just laid on the floor, rolled around a bit. That's about it.
Probably homemade pepper spray then, because if it was real pepper spray, that's no joke.
Yeah.
But the fun thing is,
the blindness.
Yeah.
The fun thing is, if you Google the gun he used, it comes with a free water capsule to shoot out of it. So I'm so sure he's just shot him in the face with the water that comes with the gun.
Right.
It's a bright orange and black thing. It's quite a laugh. But Jody hasn't stopped with these stalker videos. Now, Jasko,
how many does he have? He has a lot.
Oh, shit.
I don't even go to his channel, so I don't know. How many does he have? Because you're always talking about this. So
because he does loads of them. So let's see how many we can get a lead on. And if it's not being stalked, it's finding stuff that he's put there earlier. It's convenient. Okay. So
was that the Randonautica?
Yeah, so that's why I brought it up today, because he's done a Randonautica series again over the last few days, like
Why?
2 weeks worth. And let me
Didn't
read
we
you.
already debunk Randonautica?
Yeah, we did. But let's
Doesn't
just
everybody know what Randonautica is and what it does?
look how much this guy is being stalked. Ready? I'm going to read you how many videos I've did down on my his most recent videos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll go from 10. His last 10 video titles. Ready? Terrifying Randonautica stalker experience. Cult shows up again. The next, and then the same week, he uploads a second video. Terrifying Randonautica experience. Cult stalker strike again. Money found.
I know the channel you're talking about now that you mentioned the title.
Yeah, the guy that has the shit museum and he's trying to be like Zach Baggins. Yeah, that guy. Terrifying Randonautica experience. Stalker stalked us and followed us. That's what stalking means, Jody, you fuckwit. I mean, how I hate being this rude, but how stupid is this? Stalker stalked and followed us. It's the same thing. I mean, and the next video. Stalked and followed gone wrong.
When did it ever go right?
Next video. Followed in the forest, gone wrong. Next video. On my property, gone wrong. Followed by a man in a black mask. And then the last one, his most recent one 2 days ago, which I haven't watched yet. Extreme paranormal and epic finds. At what point do people just start calling bullshit on what he's doing? Who believes this? It's more believable that when I go to the toilet, my poo jumps out of the bowl and follows me around the flat than this guy being stalked. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry for the graphic.
Yeah, it wasn't a good image for the rest of the night, that's for sure.
No, but my lord, every single one. I'm about 30, 15, 20 videos in, and every single one of them is this terrifying Randonautica. I mean, he must be bored.
Yeah.
Because 30 videos, all stalkers and Randonautica in the last 4 months. I'm assuming his museum's not doing very well.
Probably not.
Probably
I
not.
mean, I've done Randonautica, and all it's done is,
Christ.
I mean, it's probably just some strange places, but nothing like what this guy's showing on the video.
Yeah. He finds a stalker every video. Good for him.
And it's just
He's got 30 or 40 stalkers out there then.
He does. But I mean, you can tell he's doing extremely well because people must be getting a bit bored of it, because when you have 247,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel, I mean, fair enough, the viewership he gets is good. He's still got 19,000 on that video.
Right.
But 19,000 out of 250,000 isn't good numbers.
Yeah. I mean,
realistically. So you're not really hooking people in here.
For sure. And it kind of goes back to what I said when I first got on about building a brand. You got to be interesting. And I think with him, because Randonautica is an app that anybody can get and they can more or less copy what he's doing, I think that's part of the other side of that appeal. But
what happened to their other app? They had an app. They brought out an app.
Scaranoia. Him and Omar Gosh did one, didn't they? Oh, they
so
still do
if he's got his own app, why is he using a Randonautica?
Because he's refusing to pay for his own app.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Maybe because he knows it just doesn't. Maybe because he knows that putting every video where he puts Scaranoia in the title was shit compared to the ones where he put Randonautica in the title.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean,
maybe that museum money ain't enough to pay for that app.
I don't know. Maybe just I'm hoping people are just seeing through it. I mean, if you go to a channel where that's 30 videos in 5 months, they're all the same title. Mm-hmm. You're not going to watch the videos continuously, are you?
No. So maybe the YouTube stuff is paying for the app and the museum. Anybody heard anything about this museum? Any words out there about this?
I've heard it's dog shit.
Okay. Can we be a little more?
I don't even know if it's open yet, to be honest. I know that people were shitting on it before it's even open. So.
Okay, so it's not even open yet.
I don't know. Let me just have a look. It's going to be on here somewhere.
So why don't you move on to the next one?
Oh, 1 second. Yeah, so it opened last month, October the 1st, 2022.
Okay.
And I've not heard anything about it. No one's told me it's good. No one's, no one cares because no one cares. But we'll go on to the second one, and I would love to get the chat's opinion on this, as well as yours, Aaron. Channels that we all know, Nuke's Top 5 and Slapped Ham. They're two of the biggest compilation paranormal channels on YouTube. And don't get me wrong, I like both of them. I don't have anything bad to say against Nuke as a person or the host of Slapped Ham. I just find it's a bit trashy that they're putting up like these top 5s that people like me would love to be featured on one of these top 5s. Right. Because it would be cool to say, like, I got something so good that it ended up on Nuke's Top 5. But when he's blatantly putting up a ridiculously, obviously fake shit.
Yeah.
Do you think that's like same with Slapped Ham? He does it too. Do you think they know that they're promoting fake stuff? Do you think they're just doing it because they've given up? Because these compilations used to be really good, and they were questionable.
Yeah, I've actually watched a lot of Nuke Top 5 for years, and Slapped Ham, at least in the last year and a half, 2 years. And I think, okay, in their defense, at least they're not the ones that are making these the videos that the compilations are of. They're just putting it together. So I can say that much in their defense. But I would imagine that, this is your channel. This is your name that's going out there. I would want to have, like things that really do look legit. So when you see these videos that, just like, oh, come on, really? You're going to believe that? On a show like Nuke Top 5 or Slapped Ham, you start to question, what the real motive for these guys to make this compilation. Are they really interested in the paranormal, or have they spotted a gimmick that they can make money off of somehow?
Because that's the big question, especially when you've got, I don't know how familiar you are with debunking channels. I follow a few of them. And I think two of the big ones have definitely spoken about this before. I know The Shape has a few months ago. I know that Mr. Gray did as well, who is a fantastic debunker, by the way. I like Mr. Gray. Again, they're both very polite in how they do it.
Right.
But they've both said the same thing in the course of a year, where they do see it as a bit of an issue that they are promoting these fake channels who are passing up, especially when there's money involved, which for me, a fake channel making money off of this, where they're not claiming it's fake, is theft. I think it's fraudulent. So I guess the real question here is, like, are they accountable for doing this on purpose? Do you think these big creators are actually going to these channels and being like, I'm doing a new video special next weekend, I've sent you a clip from it, can you promote it for me? Here's some money. Do you think they're being paid to put it on there?
Well, I think, more than one person, whoever is involved that is knowingly putting out false content should all be held accountable to one degree or another. Because, it would be different if they had a disclaimer in the front at the beginning of the video saying, this is for entertainment purposes only. Then I could care less. I would still watch it.
I've said the same thing. If they had it in the description of every video, I wouldn't give a shit.
Right. But when they give that illusion of being like authentic, real, legit, or whatever, and then you see something that you just know damn well is fake.
Yeah.
That to me, that is fraud, straight up.
I mean, a good example of that. Have you heard of Tim Morozov?
I've heard the name.
He's like, I think he's Russian or somewhere around that region of the world, and he has a text that comes up in Russian or his native language on the screen, and I never knew what it said. And I watched his videos, and I was like, these are really cool, man. If this is real, this is really cool. And then I found out, and people have put like, oh, it's definitely fake, rah rah rah. And I commented on it saying, well, how do you know? I do this. I would like to know why you think it's fake. Because if it's fake, it's really well done and it's entertaining. But I'd just like to know how. The text at the beginning of his video, in his title sequence, says these videos are purely for entertainment. And I was like, and I'm like, you know what? now that I know that, I still watch the dude.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, the videos are really cool to watch. But I'm going in there with I'm going to watch his videos because I want to watch an entertaining fake ghost video.
Right.
Now, if I wanted to go and research a site that he's been to for legitimacy, I wouldn't watch his video on the site. I'd find someone who isn't faking it, right? So again, I have a lot of respect for him because on a platform where you can make loads of money by lying about it, he's not lying about it, which is great. And again, I found him because he was on a Nuke's Top 5 video.
Yeah, and I'll also say this: sometimes that applies in the opposite direction. In cases like the Ouija board, when you buy the Ouija board from a store, there's a disclaimer on there that says for entertainment purposes only. That's for insurance purposes. That's because if something happened, Hasbro or Mattel or whatever the company that makes it will not be held legally responsible for whatever negative thing might happen with the board.
Can you imagine that court case? Oh, my daughter got dragged to hell because Hasbro sold me a board.
Right. And a lot of people fail to realize that the Ouija board game, as they like to call it, is actually an ancient ritual called witching. This is a practice that's been going on for thousands of years. So the idea that it's been made into a game is a little alarming in itself. But yeah, the whole idea with disclaimers, I feel if you're honest with me, you have a better chance of having me, become a follower for your channel.
100%. But that was just what I wanted to touch on today. So for the viewers who do look to these compilation channels to find new content and find new investigators, again, be very careful who you're believing, because again, these compilations are pushing out false content. Again, I don't really. Again, I'm not negatively. I mean, slapped hams. They both do that thing at the end. Like, is it real or is it fake? They both ask. So I guess there's a sort of they're doing it in a way where they're making you question it.
Yeah,
which I think is maybe that's okay then. But I think when you have people on there like Franco TV, who I've debunked a million times.
Yeah, I know him. Yep.
I'm pretty sure he's the one. What was my favorite? I think it's him. My favorite one with him. He's wearing sunglasses at a location, and he says he's by himself. And in the reflection of his sunglasses, you can see his friend sat with him. And that was my favorite debunk on him. But it's like there's so much negativity around those names because of how we feel about them. I don't see why these channels would keep putting them in there, if that makes sense. So why would you want to put an Oh My Gosh video? Because it's not in the title. He doesn't put in the title Oh My Gosh video. So he's not using these videos for views because you don't know they're in there.
Yeah.
It's just why litter your... Because again, Nuke is... I would say Nuke more than Slapped Ham because I think Slapped Ham kind of copied Nuke's top 5 pretty much. So I'm going to say Nuke really. The quality has dropped dramatically because now his videos are being littered by these videos. Whereas before you had them once every now and then. Omar would turn up in like one.
Yeah.
In 2 months. And you're like, okay, fine. But now it's almost every single one. And it's like... Has something changed with the creator who's now benefiting from doing this? And that's where I start to lose my patience with that channel if that's the case.
Right.
So just be careful, folks. Make sure you check up on who you're watching. Or come to me and I'll tell you. Because I'm quite good at doing that. But that's it for this segment anyway. But again, anyone in the chat on the replays, if you have a channel you would like me to take a look at, and maybe they'll get featured on this segment if I find out they're not doing things properly. But yeah, just message me on Twitter, tweet me.
Now, at the end of all that, what do we always say? What we always say is we're not telling you.
Yes, I'm not saying I'm not saying don't watch these videos. Don't go, support the content creators you want to support. That's 100% your choice. I just want you to go in there and don't spend money on things you think is real when it's not. People that are buying Scaranoia, I think it was like $15.99 or something. It's theft. It's a false app. This is why I do it. So if you like them for the entertainment value, that's 100% for you. Then that's fine. Don't go over there. And I don't want people attacking these creators. I just want you to be aware of what you're walking into, because I see you all squabbling online with each other, and it's a pointless argument because it's not real.
Yep,
so
exactly.
that's what this is for, to spread some awareness. But if you would like me to take a look at someone, message me on Twitter at LexParanormalYT, and I will look through these videos so you don't have to, because it's mind-numbingly dull, as I said last week, Brian.
Well, I want to thank Aaron for coming on today's show. Everybody, if you can, right below in the description are all his links. If you want to go check out his magazine, now's the time.
Do it. Sign up to it.
It's free. I signed up to it the other day.
So did I.
Yeah. So it's good. I enjoyed it. It's got some great pictures.
It does, man.
It all comes with being an artist and, incorporating different tools.
I was gonna say, you can see the graphic in you, my friend, because
it's very, very cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Very cool. I liked it. So again, thank you, Aaron, for coming on today's show. I really, really appreciate it. And when you start making money off that magazine, when it comes to like getting thousands and thousands of people ordering it, then we'll bring you back on this. No, I'm kidding. We'll bring you back on the show anyways. So, but thanks again for coming on today's show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm
going to say my goodbyes, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
You too, guys.
Yep. Thank you very much, my friend. Pleasure to meet you, and I wish you all the best in the future with your endeavors. And hopefully, we'll see you back on here again at some point to discuss some more topics. So, take care.
That was great.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys.
See you later. That was great. It was good to finally have the opportunity to have Aaron on the show. I've been wanting to get him on for a little while, and his Specter radio podcast is really good. You guys should go check it out on his page on Parapost Network Central if you're on YouTube. Go give him a follow, and I believe his YouTube channel is below as well. If you can go over there and give him a follow. I believe he gave me his YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's in there, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. So go over and give him a follow and check out some of his videos and stuff like that. Other than that, I said at the beginning of the show, I think it was at the beginning of the show I said it. Next week, we do have a guest coming up.
And Brian is quaking in his little boots about it.
Oh, dear, yeah. No, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. He's just he's got a lot about him.
I would definitely say as well, you guys make sure you come into next week's show with a really open mind, because it's going to be a crazy show, I reckon.
Yeah, Ken Allen coming on next week for sure. Thank you, Matt. There's Ken there. He's still watching. Oh, Ken, you scare me, buddy.
I know. I can't wait to have to do my question next week. I have no idea what I'm going to say.
Nah, you don't scare me. Ken's a good guy. He's a good guy. He helped me out in the situation back a few months ago. So he's a good guy. So anyways, people, thanks for coming in today. If you haven't, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Ken is amazing and colorful. Yes, for sure. Anyways, everybody, thank you for coming to today's show. We really appreciate it. If you are watching this replay right till the end, if you can share that, that'd be great. If you can go over to our YouTube channel and give us a follow over there, that would be amazing. And other than that, I want everybody to have a great rest of the day and great week.
Yep, absolutely. We'll see you here next week, same time. Now that we're on the same time, because both our clocks have gone back now.
Yeah.
But I want to say thank you to everyone who came in the chat today. Thank you again to Aaron. And again, from us here on the show, huge condolences to the family of Mike, the naked Bigfoot. We were very unaware of that, so thank you for telling us. But again, our thoughts and prayers with the family at this time. And rest in peace, brother. We'll see you all next week.